stitching friends, I'm Amy. I'm the Globetrotting Stitcher. I'm here with Gary, also a Globetrotting Stitcher, and we're so excited to be with you today. We've blown a little bit past it, but today we are marking our 5-year anniversary on Flosstube. I cannot quite believe it has been 5 years since we launched our channel. And so we have some fun things planned for that, but did want to just say thank you to all of you. I know there are some of you out there who found us and have been with us for the last 5 years, so we hope you've enjoyed the ride as much as we have. And then to those of you who have come along since, we're glad you discovered us. We're glad you've decided to stick around. And so we hope that you'll enjoy celebrating that big milestone with us today. I also want to say a special welcome to, we got a huge jump in subscribers after our last video. I'm not sure exactly what happened or why, but that was a fun surprise. It's always fun to see your kind of slow, steady growth. Get a nice big burst of new folks that are finding you and liking your channel. So if that is you, welcome. Thanks so much for deciding to stick around. And it would be great to hear from you how you found us, because if you found us through a shout out from another channel, we like to be able to do a reciprocal shout out and run over and say thank you to that person. So, so that's that. Y'all, we're going to do a little life update before we get into stitching, and because it's been a month since we filmed an update, we have a lot of stitching to show you, so grab a cup of coffee. But May has been a wild one. It's just been a very, very busy month. I have actually, between work and some family stuff, I have spent more nights in somebody else's bed than in my own. Which, you know, is not the way I want to do things. So before our last video, I was telling you that I was getting ready to head out to Senegal for a work trip. For those who are interested, we'll talk a little bit more about the globetrotting piece, and I'll share some things from my trip at the end of this video. But just wanted to say I did go, had a good trip. We also have just celebrated yesterday Sophie's 9th birthday, so that's always fun. We don't have any more doggo birthdays for the rest of the year. They kind of all fall right in a row, and so Sophie was the last, and she's now our 9-year-old girl. She had a good day, had a nice long walk, and so we're so happy to celebrate our sweet girl. We also are getting ready tomorrow. We had the unexpected surprise, so life has been lifing as well in the month of May, and we're taking Bear in tomorrow to have an unexpected dental surgery. So a little over a week ago, we were just kind of hanging out, and we noticed that Bear had a pretty significant swelling underneath one of his eyes. And so we got him into the vet as soon as we could, and you know, we're trying to figure out what's going on in there. And the vet determined that that he has an abscessed tooth, which, considering his age, is not too much of a surprise, I suppose. Although it's not something that you ever want to hear. So anyway, he's on antibiotics. He's doing really well, and he's going in tomorrow to get at least 1, possibly 2 teeth pulled, and hopefully he'll be feeling better after that. But yeah, that wasn't in the budget. So we're kind of adapting as we can to that. We also, it's been a month for surgeries. So after I got back from my trip to Senegal, and also spent the better part of a week at my office for our annual meeting. Came home, and my mom had to have knee replacement surgery, and so I've spent a good chunk of the last week and a half to 2 weeks helping with her initial phase of recovery, kind of tag teaming that with my dad and my brother. So she had a very successful surgery. She's now well on her way to recovery, thank goodness. But it's just been busy. So still, we're doing well. And, you know, if life gets a little lifey sometimes, well, that's just how life is. And so you just be thankful that you've got people around you that you love, and you've got your stitching to kind of help retain your sanity through it all. So with that, that's enough of a life update. Let's get into our stitching. So the first thing I'm going to show you, I've got a fully finished object and a finish. Also, before I show you those, just want to note, just because of how busy things are, we are filming this on a different day and time than we normally do, and we're filming it after work hours. So hopefully we're going to be able to minimize any background noise that you wouldn't normally get, but it's summer, so folks are mowing their yards and walking their dogs, and so if we have an interruption in service, you'll know we're just trying to manage external sounds. Okay, so back to the stitching. So the first thing I'm going to show you is a fully finished object. I did manage to finish off a piece that I have been trying to get framed up for a while, and it's been quite the saga. So I have finally finished the framing on one of the samplers I finished 2 years ago now, almost 2 full years ago. And this is a project I stitched in honor of my dad. This is Blackberry House by Plum Street Samplers. It was part of the Blackberries for Dad stitch along that I did with my friend Sarah. And I stitched this design on a piece of 36 count platinum linen by Zweigart. So let me pull up the framed finish and share a little bit about why it has taken so long to get this piece fully finished. So first of all, can we just appreciate, I think this turned out really beautifully, and I'm quite happy with it. I think the frame is really lovely, and it picks up nicely on some of the kind of silvery blue elements in the project. So I'm quite pleased with how it turned out. So as I said, this has been a project that's been a long time in the fully finishing. This is actually the 3rd frame I purchased for this project. So I do most of my own framing and fully finishing, and I had originally picked out a completely different frame for this project, ordered it, it arrived. I was all excited to do the framing, and realized that while I had entered the correct dimensions in terms of the width of the project, I had shorted myself by about 2 inches on the length of the project when I ordered the frame. I still to this day don't know how I did that, but I kind of put it on the back burner in terms of getting it framed after that, and decided to take some time and think about, well, is that really, do I want to reorder that frame, or do I want to go with something else? So after that, I actually, as we were coming into my dad's 80th birthday earlier this year, I thought this would actually make a really lovely gift for him, since I stitched it in honor of him. And so I went searching for a frame again, and I found something that I liked even better. It was this beautiful kind of pale blue silvery frame that would have just really picked up on these kind of gray blue elements that are throughout the design. And it was a gorgeous, gorgeous match. And I went back and I made sure I had my dimensions correct so that I didn't have the same mistake with ordering. And I quickly fired off an order for that frame. And y'all, I could not believe it, because when the frame arrived, despite my best efforts to make sure I had the correct dimensions, it was wrong again. And it was still a couple inches off. There was no salvaging it. And I was so disappointed. So I went back.
Kind of like her measurements for my first Louis Armstrong attempt.
I beg your pardon. That was not my fault.
I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything about fault. No fault was mentioned. I didn't measure it.
Oh my goodness! I didn't measure that fabric either.
Clearly,
that was somebody
clearly
else.
you did not.
Oh my goodness! You guys, so much disrespect.
I'm done now.
Yeah, yes you are. So anyway, I was very disappointed, and I reached back out to the company to reorder the beautiful frame that I really liked in the correct dimensions. And I was absolutely devastated when they reached back to me and said, we actually cannot fill this order because this frame has been discontinued, or this molding has been discontinued. We don't have enough in stock to make up a new frame for you. And so I was just kind of, that was a big blow, because that would have just been so beautiful. Anyway, I had to go back to the drawing board, and so this is where I ended up landing. It is beautiful. no complaints. I think it turned out really nicely. I really do like it. I think I would have loved the blue frame more, and maybe we can show you a picture of what that frame looked like and what it might have looked like on this piece. I'll find another use for it. It's a fantastic frame, so I'm sure there will be a project that it works for at some point in the future. But at any rate, this is fully finished. It's ready to hang on the wall, and so the next time I see my dad, I will finally be able to deliver his sampler to him with a lot of story attached to it. But that's how all good cross-stitch pieces are, right? They all have a little bit of a story behind them. So anyway, that is my fully finish on Blackberry House. All right. The next piece I have is a smaller finish, not fully finished yet. And so I had a chance while I was traveling to finish one of my travel stitches. So I was working on the project, the Woodland Holiday set of charts by Leela's Studio, and I was stitching the bear that's holding the gift from that set. I stitched this project on a piece of 36 count Mocha Edinburgh linen by Zweigert. And the last time you saw this, I had made a little bit of additional progress on it. I was starting to fill in the bear's head and was filling in the ribbing at the neck and the cuffs of the sweater. So this is how it turned out. And I think it's really, really cute. I'm really pleased with it. So you can see, obviously the sweater itself is finished, but I am customizing this. So I'm planning to stitch several different sweaters from Leela's Studio's various sweater chart packs as Christmas gifts for family members. And so this one is for my sister-in-law, Carrie. Her nickname in the family is Care Bear. And so I customized by stitching Care Bear down below the sweater. And so I'll extend when I'm going to turn this into an ornament, just like the chart suggests. But I will have to customize a little bit to make the ornament slightly longer so that I can include her name and she'll have her own personalized ornament. But I'm really happy with how this turned out. I think it's really sweet, and this was just a lot of fun to stitch. It's not a heavy or intense stitch by any means, so it was a lot of fun to work on. So that's that finish. All right, so now we are gonna get on to the whips. And the first whip that I'm gonna show you, it's been several weeks since I worked on this actually, because it was the first thing I worked on after our last video. And this is my seasonal stitch. This project is called, this is the Be Mine Biscornu, and it is by Heartstring Samplery. I'm stitching it on a piece of 32 count caramel linen by Seraphim Fabrics, and I'm using the called for flosses. So the last time you saw this, it was a brand new start, and I'd only worked on it for one day, so I hadn't gotten much done. I had just started working in the top left corner and was mostly just working my way down the left side with some vines and flowers, and I'd started stitching the first of the 4 birds. And this is where I am now. So decent progress. There's more stitching in this project than you realize. Even just looking at it like this, it doesn't look like there's much stitching. Looking at the chart, it doesn't look like there's much stitching, but it just, you know, there's a fair bit of stitching in this. Now, I did take this project with me to Senegal, and I had these delusions of grandeur, thinking, oh, I'm going to finish this project and I'll be able to start another project. So I took a whole extra project with me, thinking I would blow through this one and be able to start the next one. That did not happen, as you can see. This one is not even, I'm not even sure I'm 50% done with this project yet. So I clearly thought I could stitch much faster than I could actually stitch. But I love the colors in this. I'm really liking it on this fabric. And this one was just a lot of fun to work on, so I'm really enjoying it. And I think it's going to be really pretty when it's finished. So that is where I am on the Be Mine Biscornu. All right. The next project I'm going to show you is my monthly morning stitch. And this is a project that, let me tell you what it is first. So I am stitching a kit called Not Forgotten by Luca S. And I am just using the kit fabric and floss on this. So the last time you saw this, it was a new start. So I started this in November of last year. It was my monthly morning stitch for November. And just given the subject matter of the design, a beautiful field of poppies in this kind of rural farmland area, it felt really appropriate to stitch in November as something of a memorial piece for Veterans Day here in the United States, and for Remembrance Day in the Commonwealth countries, England and the other Commonwealth countries. And then I wanted to stitch it again in May, again as a nod to Memorial Day here in the United States. So last time you saw it, it was a new start, and I hadn't gotten a very robust start on it. I had less than 1,000 stitches in it because we traveled in November last year, and so it was just a busy month without a lot of stitching time. So coming into May, I again had delusions of grandeur, and I was envisioning making all kinds of progress. And let me show you where it is right now. Hopefully you can see the difference. I got even fewer stitches, unfortunately, in this project in May than I did when I started it in November. I think less than 600 stitches of progress. So I have stitched in a bit more of the sky and carried down more of this kind of background of trees that are over here on the far left. This was just one of those projects that, with everything going on and with me traveling and being away from home as much as I was, I just didn't have a lot of opportunity for morning stitching or stitching time before work. And so this one just didn't get the love that I had hoped it would. And that's okay. That's just the way it is sometimes. But I did make a little bit of progress and really enjoyed the time I spent on it. And I think it's beautiful. And so hopefully, fingers crossed, and I'm not jinxing myself, hopefully when this comes back out again in November later this year, I'll have more morning time to put into it, and with any luck, we'll be able to see a little bit more substantial progress on it. But that is where I am on Not Forgotten by Luca S. So I think I've done enough talking for now. Let's hear from Gary on the projects he's been working on.
The first one is Louis Armstrong, and that is Stitching Jules Design, and it's a 16 count white Aida. I don't know why I always laugh when I get to the color. It's a DNC 310. It's black. It's all black. There's no, you can substitute if you want, but that's what it is. Anyway, the last time you saw this, I believe I started at the very early parts of his wrist there, and that was about it. So, pardon me, and here is where it is now. I have to look over there because she's got it over there. Anyway, you can see that I've kind of got the bottom of the hand done, and it's coming down. I'm not sure which hand it is, but it's gonna, I think it's this one, and it's gonna start to come down this way a bit. So it's really, it's really starting to take shape. That page that I'm working on, I believe, is page 8. And when I finish that, that will be the 5th page, but I still think I'll be below 50%. And pages, which pages are they? Pages 4 and 9 is where his face is and the bulk of his jacket, and there's a lot of stitching in there, so it's going to be a while before I actually finish, but at any rate, so that's where I am now. I really like how it's turning out, and fortunately we have way more than the amount of fabric we need to finish this thing off, because we're not doing it again. Anyway, so that's where Louis Armstrong is. I figure sometime around, I was going to say 1998, but we've been there already. Sometime around later in the future, it will be done. I just don't know when. Anyway, so that's where I am on Louis Armstrong, and I believe a dog is going to be walking by pretty soon, so if you hear barking, it's all good. The next one I'm working on is called Unexpected Visitors, and it's by, it's an Etsy shop. It's Night Spirit Studios, and it's 16 count clay Aida, and it has all the cold floor flosses. In this case, I don't have the actual floss numbers. If you want a mask, I'll put them up. But it's just red, black, and white, and I think they're the only colors that it needs. The last time you saw this, I think I had just started working on, I did a couple of the rays shooting out of the spacecraft. And I think I I put in the first flames in a little bit of the first house. But I still needed to put in a number of snowflakes and fill in the spaceship and a couple of other things. Because it is, after all, a nice, charming winter scene. Anyway, so here is where it is now. I've finished that page. There are 4 pages. That's page 1. It's done. I don't have to do anything else on page 1. Anyway, so I started the border on page 2, the top border. So that is all the way over as far as it's going to go. Now I have to do the border going down and then fill it in the same way. I keep looking over there like you guys are looking at it too. I guess, well, you're not really not because you're looking at me. It might be right here. Either way, it's, there it is. That's where it is. And I'm looking forward to finishing this. I really do appreciate that it's an idyllic winter scene and it does have the aliens running amok in that winter scene. It tickles me fancy, I guess is a way to put it. Anyway, so that's where that's where we are on my cross-stitch project. We had absolutely no idea which action figures to use today, so I just grabbed Cave Batgirl and Cave Batman. They're not really called that, but I consider them that because they got stone tools and they kind of got like bone clothing and stuff like that. And in front of them, I don't know if the camera's going to catch it, but my wife got me, Amy's my wife, just in case you want to know. My wife got me a little can. It's like with some cotton and a light, and you put it in there, and it looks like there's a fire coming out of an oil drum can. Anyway, I'll have to play with that a little bit more later, but that's what's going on. There's no specific reason. They were just, I looked at them, I was like, let's do it, and there they are. So that's the action figures. And thank you for your time.
All right, let's see. I have a few more projects to show you of mine, and so we will get to those. So the next thing I'm going to show you is my wild card stitch, and I am working on a project called Cabin Fever by Dimensions Gold Collection. I'm using the kit fabric and floss on this. And I'm going to have to remember what I did because it's been a few weeks since I worked on this one as well. So the last time you saw this, I had been stitching in, filling in the pond that's below the boat, and it started kind of stitching along the shoreline underneath the cabin, as well as it looks like there's kind of a raised bed of some kind that's got flowers in it underneath the cabin, and so had been stitching that in. Yeah, so I think that was kind of the areas that I worked last time. And here's where I am right now. So I'm actually relatively happy with the progress I made on this. I am like this close to finishing the first page, which is the whole left side of the design, with the exception of there is still a fair bit of backstitch and some French knots that have to be put in, but I'm really close to finishing all of the cross stitch and half stitch on this side. There's just a little bit down here to do. So as you can see, I did quite a bit of bringing this fill-in down and the mirroring that's happening in the pond of what's going on in the top of the design. So you can now see the mirroring of the cabin here coming in. You can see the mirroring of the tree, a little bit more of the actual water itself, and some of the grasses down here that needed to be done. As you can see, there's more of the cabin coming in over here. And then I also stitched in more of this area of the shoreline and the mirroring as well here. So most of what's left, quite frankly, is either backstitch or the pond mirroring back what's on the top half of the design. But this one, I really enjoyed working on it this last time. It feels like in having started to really move this way, I am really turning a corner with this piece, and it's been at times a little bit of a slog just in terms of It just moves slowly because there's so much stitching and it's really dense stitching, but I'm really happy with it. The other thing that I did get finished this time around, I was able to put in a little bit more back stitch in the cabin. I think just one strand of back stitch, but did fill in, you know, a lot, bring some more dimension to the roof of this cabin. I will tell you, I had a little bit of a almost panic attack because if you've ever stitched a dimensions kit, you know that they use different colors of backstitch to get different effects. And this project has something like 5 or 6 different colors of backstitch, depending on where you're working. And there's at least 3 or 4 of those that are in the cabin. And so when I was doing the black backstitch along the roof of the cabin, there's a section up in here on the chimney and this little window where they used a dark brown backstitch. And when I was initially looking at it and comparing the chart to, and what I had done on the chart with what I had stitched, for a bit, I was thinking, oh my goodness, I did black backstitch there and I'm supposed to do dark brown. And how did I make that kind of a mistake? And it took me a little bit to realize that I actually had done dark brown. It's just so dark that it almost looks black. And I'll tell you, when I was initially thinking I had used the wrong color, I was like, I'm not ripping it out. It's gonna stay the way it is. But thankfully, when I was able to do the comparison, I did use the right color. So all is well. But that did make me a little bit nervous for a few minutes. So anyhow, that's where I am on this and looking forward to spending some more time on it in the next couple weeks. Okay, let's see. All right, next whip I'm going to show you is my sampler. So I am working on the Brick House sampler, and this is a project by With Thy Needle and Thread. I am stitching this on a piece of 40 count Abecedarian linen by R&R Reproductions, using mostly the called for flosses, but making a few substitutions here and there. I am also doing this as a stitch along with my friend Sarah, Stitch Addict, as well as Stitching Alex, and both of those ladies are on Instagram. So the last time you saw this, I had filled in quite a bit of the left side of the vine that runs along the bottom. Was getting close to finishing that. I had started really doing a fair bit of the fill-in on the left side of the house and had finished stitching most of the blue bird that's on the left side of the design. So here's where I am right now. So I am now happy to say I've completely finished page 1. So this whole kind of left chunk over here is now done. And I was able to also fill in a good bit more of, or do a fair bit more of the fill in on the house. I've now finished stitching the windows on the house, and have started carrying the vine over to this, to the far right here, and then started just with the first element here on the right side of the house. So not as much progress as I had wanted, but this was a project I was working on while I was taking care of my mom the first week. And so not a whole lot of stitching to be had when you're doing caretaking. But this is lovely and looking forward to getting back to it again. Okay, so next I am going to show you where I made progress on my full coverage project. So I am stitching Rose Trellis In by Heaven and Earth Designs. This is it's based on a piece of artwork by Randall Spangler, and I am stitching mine on a piece of 28 count white Lugana using a combination of half stitch and continental stitch. So the last time you saw this project, I had moved completely into the background and I was working in that at the far right, at the bottom of the inn. And what else was I doing? I had stitched most of the bushes there, and I was just starting to work my way down to the end of that row of pages. So here's where it is right now. Oh my goodness, you guys. So I made phenomenal progress on this by some miracle, act of God. I don't know, but I made really great progress, and I'm not even sure that you're going to be able to see because some of that progress is kind of tucked away behind parked threads here. But I got a little over 3,500 stitches on this when I worked on it in May, which is miraculous. Like I didn't think I was even going to hit my goal, and then I blew right past it. And really got a lot of stitches in. And part of that is because, as I suspected, as I'm getting into background and have fewer sections and smaller sections of heavy confetti, it's just easier to get a lot of stitches in than it has been for the last several years. So what did I get done? Well, a couple major accomplishments. So I finished the stitching. I've completed pages 29 and 30, which were these pages over here. I have completely finished the 5th row of pages, and I've moved down and started stitching on page 31, and I'm now in the very bottom set of pages, which is super, super exciting. I'm also like 45 stitches away from hitting 90% completion on this. So that is really exciting to be moving this along so well. I also finally finished another 2 colors in this project. So at 89%, just yesterday, I managed to finish 2 more colors. So now I've now completed 3 colors and I only have like 89 to go, which I expect we'll start seeing those color finishes rolling in fairly regularly as this comes out through the end of the year. But as you can see, I've finished these bushes over here completely, and then finished this section of grass, and then stitched down through. I'm not sure if these are supposed to be delphiniums or what's that other flower? I don't remember, but another beautiful spiky flower. I'm not sure what these flowers are, but this little clump of them, I was able to stitch those in. Those have a ton of confetti in them, and I was kind of surprised at how much. And then behind my bobbin here and behind my park threads, there's a whole bunch of this dark stitching that gets us down into the road that runs in front of the inn. So that's what I did over here. I also did stitch in a little bit more of the grass underneath the sign, and then started stitching my way down the far left side of the design. And so this little chunk of darker stitching that you can see in the bottom here, I'm about 10 rows up from the complete bottom of the design. I didn't quite make it down to the very last row, but very, very close to being down to the last row. And so worked some more in these purple flowers here. But this, I really enjoyed working on it, and it was such a thrill when I added up my stitches to see how many stitches I'd actually accomplished by the end of the week working on this. So that felt like a huge accomplishment, and I'm really looking forward to getting this out again next month and seeing if I can do something similar, because that would just be outstanding. So this is where we are. Because I had such a good week on this in May when I worked on it, I actually have made up the stitches that I wasn't able to get done in April. And so I am back on track to have this finished by the end of the year, as long as I hit my monthly targets. So I'm a little nervous about that, primarily because I'm heading into a very busy couple of months travel-wise for work. So I may kind of shuffle my rotation around a bit to try and maximize times when I'm home to get work on this, so hit those monthly goals. But we'll just kind of keep you posted as we go. But right now, we're on track to get this finished by the end of December of this year, and I'm super excited about it. So that's where we are with Rose Trellis In. All right, I have one more whip to share with you, and then I have a couple of new starts. So let's just get those. Here we go. Okay, so my last whip to show you is my weekend stitch. And this is an oldie buddy goodie. I am working on Butterfly Port Mauve by Heaven and Earth Designs, and am stitching this project on a piece of 28 white Lugana, or excuse me, 28 white, oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank. White Easy Grid Lugana, using my standard technique of half stitch and continental stitch, switching back and forth between the two. So the last time you saw this, I had, where was I? Oh my goodness, I had just started stitching in the clump of purple flowers that is nestled underneath the peach flowers in the design. And of course, I've been working extensively in background because that's what a lot of this row of pages is. So since you've seen it last, I've got about 1,100 stitches in, and here's where I am right now. So as you can see, I've done more background, but we're starting to see more elements within the purple flowers here show up. So you can now see some green leaves. You're seeing some more of the purple stitches and a little bit more of that area getting filled in and fleshed out. And so it's coming along. I'm not sure, don't have a whole lot else to say on this. I am sitting at, let's see, a little over 39,000 stitches completed on this, so it's looking good. It's slow and steady progress, but we're getting there one little bit at a time. So that's where I am on that. Some of you might remember, those of you that follow this channel know that I am a big fan of a number of the Dutch stitchers who also make videos. And so Jantina and Jemima and all those folks had stitched the ornament version of this a couple of years ago, and several of them have finished it, and it's just beautiful. But Stuart from StuartsInStitches just recently had a start on the ornament version of this, and it's smaller and it stitches up a lot more quickly. So it really focuses in on the central elements of this design that are so beautiful. And so if you were not already watching Stuart, go check him out. I think you'll enjoy following his progress on the ornament version of this piece because it's just beautiful. So that is that. All right, my goodness, what a marathon of whips for our 5-year anniversary. So let me show you the 2 new starts that I've had, and then we will move on to some other fun things. So in our last video, I shared with you my Fancy Lady finish on Rose of Sharon and mentioned that I was going to be having a start on my next Fancy Lady, which is County Fair by Lavender and Lace. I am stitching this on a piece of 32 count Oaken Belfast linen by Picture This Plus and using all the called for flosses, not planning to make any changes to this. So I had just one day, and it was only a partial day of stitching to get a start on this. So prepare to be unamazed. Very, very little stitching. So I'm doing my usual, and I've started up in the top left corner. And this is, I was a little surprised at just how much confetti there is in this little garland that will stitch down with all the beautiful flowers and fruits and things that are in it. So a very, very, very modest start initially, but this one is going to be coming into the rotation this week. I'm really looking forward to spending some time on it, and I'm hoping to have a more impressive start to show you the next time we film an update, but at least we got a few stitches in to start it, and enjoying it so far. So that is the very beginnings of my work on County Fair. All right, and then the last new start that I have to show you is my new travel stitch. And so I have moved on to, as I mentioned earlier, I am stitching various sweaters from the Leela's Studio series of charts. She's got 3 different charts that she has these Christmas sweaters in, or these winter sweaters in. And so I moved on to the next one that I am going to be stitching as a gift. So this project comes from Leela's Studio's Noël en bleu, my French, Noël en bleu. Yeah, Noël en bleu. I'm sorry, French friends. I have butchered your beautiful language. So I am stitching this on the same piece of fabric that I used for my other sweater, and that is a piece of 36 count mocha Edinburgh linen by Zweigert. And here is my start. And I'm calling this the Noel sweater because it's going to say Noel on the sweater. So that's what I'm calling it. It's this nice blue and yellow sweater, and I'm actually stitching this for my brother. So I'll be putting his name in at the bottom as I continue working on this project. But had a pretty solid start and really enjoyed this, and so that's that one. All right, so that is it in terms of stitching, but I wanted to share a little bit with you all on the globetrotting piece of the Globetrotting Stitcher, and just a few thoughts and kind of some interesting things from my trip to Senegal. So I went there for work meetings, which is fairly typical. Usually that's what I'm traveling for is meetings. But I did spend a week in Dakar, which is right on the coast of Senegal. And it was really lovely because my hotel was actually right on the coast. So I could look out of my hotel room and see the ocean, which was very nice. This was my first trip to Senegal, as I mentioned in the last video. And actually the first time I've been to West Africa in a little over 10 years, because my work usually takes me to East Africa. So it was a fun treat to go back to the area and to visit a new country. Senegal is really interesting. It is a francophone country, so that means that they speak French in Senegal. And as I've just demonstrated, I do not. So I'm used to traveling to countries where they speak their local dialect, and then many people also speak English. And so I was really out of my depth in Senegal, and it was quite funny because I was thanking the good Lord for Google Translate. Because when I was, in my taxi with my driver, we were able to pull up WhatsApp, and, he could type in French what he needed to say and then translate it to English and show it to me, or send me a message in WhatsApp, and I could do the same. So it made for a very slow communication process, as we would each take the time to translate what we were trying to say to each other. But it was still really fun. And by the time I left Senegal, I was so used to bonjouring and bonsoiring everybody that I had to remind myself when I got to Amsterdam not to say bonjour, because I would not be in the right country for that. So anyway, it was a lot of fun to kind of pull out those skills. The food was interesting. So Gary asked me after I first arrived, and we were kind of texting back and forth. He's like, "How's the food?" And what did I say, Gary?
Something about grapes and fish.
Well, yes, but it was absolutely decent.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Gary really liked that. He said he wants me to put that on a t-shirt.
That needs to be on a t-shirt.
It needs to be on a t-shirt.
Absolutely decent.
Yes.
Absolutely decent. That is a t-shirt if there ever was one.
Yes. Nobody steal that idea.
If you do, okay.
We'll know where you were. No, yeah, I had this meal that was, my mouth was so confused because it was fish, and it had been, I don't know if it was sauteed or baked or what the preparation of the dish was, but it was served on a bed of grapes. And then that was mixed in with like these really massive capers and mint. And I was just like, my mouth was like, what's going on? Like, it wasn't bad, but I wouldn't say it was good. It was just odd. So that was an interesting meal if ever I had one. But one of the things that I really enjoyed, well, that's probably not the right way to say it. One of the things that was interesting was there are still a number of buildings that are very French colonial in style, which are a legacy of the unfortunate colonial period that Senegal had. But there were some really beautiful buildings. Their train station in particular was just lovely. I took a picture of it quickly in passing because it was just very pretty architecture. So that was really interesting. we had a kind of a funny moment because, my brain is not always functioning. I'm having a hard time pulling out my words. Just that's the point in life that I'm at right now. And so sometimes I forget my words, and that experience becomes more common when I'm traveling and I'm struggling with jet lag. And so it was really funny because I was talking to Gary one day, and I was sitting in my hotel after I had finished my meetings for the day, and I was looking out at the ocean, and I was telling him how much I was enjoying it because I could see the boats and people out on the water and kind of enjoying that. And there was somebody who was out there being towed. They were on a wakeboard behind a boat, and I was trying to explain to Gary, I'm watching somebody, wakeboarding out there, but I couldn't come up with the words. And so I said, they're waterboarding someone outside my room. And Gary said, if they're waterboarding someone outside your room, you really need to come home. So that was kind of a funny moment. Anyway, it was a nice trip. Won't belabor the point, but it was a beautiful area, and I'm looking forward to heading back to Senegal later.
There was
this
only
year.
a little bit of waterboarding.
Just nothing to be concerned about.
You just look out your hotel window.
Very casual waterboarding.
Waterboarding at 8.
I mean, to be fair, the person didn't seem distressed, so.
With that said, I apologize to any and everyone who has ever been waterboarded.
Or who has ever had a loved one
Or
waterboarded.
thought about being waterboarded.
Oh my gosh, it's going downhill.
No, we're probably going to cut that.
Nope. Nope, it stays in. Anyway, that's it for that trip and the globe trotting. I am heading out on another trip in a couple more weeks. So I'm heading to Ghana, and hopefully we'll have some fun things to share with you all from that trip, because I'm going to be doing some field visits and getting to see some work and visit with some farmers. So hopefully I'll have some photos and stories to share with you from that. All right, we are gonna wrap up pretty quick here. We do want to do a giveaway because, as I said at the top of the video, it's our 5-year anniversary. And while we don't tend to do a lot of we don't do a lot of giveaways on this channel. 5 years feels like a really important milestone, and we wanted to celebrate that with you. Thank you all so much for your friendship and for being regular viewers of this channel. And so we're going to give away one chart for each of the years that we've been filming Floss Tubes. And I want to particularly thank our friend Denise. She's a friend of this channel. And earlier this year, she very graciously sent us quite a few lavender and lace charts that she was destashing and was not going to stitch anymore. And so this courtesy is entirely, or not courtesy, my goodness, you guys, it's the end of a long day. This giveaway is entirely courtesy of Denise. So Denise, thank you so much for your generosity. Thank you for making this giveaway possible. So yeah, we've got 5 charts. Just really quickly, standard giveaway rules apply. We will ask that you please be a subscriber to this channel if you're going to enter the giveaway, because we really want to thank all of our subscribers for being subscribers. We do ask, you do need to be 18 to enter the giveaway so that we can legally ask for your address. Obviously please don't use any of the words that will attract bots or bad actors. What's the word? It's gone. Bots or trolls, there you go. So no giveaway, no prize, no gift, none of those things that will attract attention from people that we don't want to be getting these charts. And so we will ask, I'll show you each of the charts and ask you to use a keyword for whichever one you want. You're eligible to win. You can enter for all of them if you want, but you can only win once. I would prefer, I think it's a lot more fun if you take a little time to actually write a sentence using the word and don't just put it in the comment. So
the sentence has to have a noun and a verb and a couple of other words, but it has to have those two.
And proper punctuation.
No, we don't care about that.
Oh.
It just has to say something about something.
Oh, something about something. I used the word. Ruining my grammar police moment. Punctuation police. All right. So the first chart that we are giving away today is the beautiful white lace chart. Again, lavender and lace. The keyword, if you would like to win this beautiful project or this beautiful chart, is bride. Second chart, this one I have a feeling is going to be popular. This is a high demand chart that is not readily available on the regular market, so it can be found on the secondary market. But the very popular Firefly Fairies.
The battery in the camera that I'm trying to show you is about out, so you have to hurry up, please.
Oh, okay.
My goodness.
Oh, I'm trying. Firefly Fairies. Your keyword is fairy. Next chart, Morning Song. This is a project I have stitched. It's really beautiful. Keyword is morning. The next chart is Angel of Summer. Your keyword is going to be summer. And the last chart is In the Arms of an Angel. And in honor of Gary and his action figures, the keyword is going to be Batman. Not at all related to the chart, but we have to reflect Gary in this. So there you go. That'll do that.
So what are you going to wrap up? Or what?
Oh, well, I thought you wanted me to just like...
No, just...
Oh, okay, then we're going to wrap up.
I'm just saying wrap it up.
Okay. You'd think I was long-winded or something.
No, I would never think that.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, moving on quickly. So let's tell you what we're going to be working on over the next couple weeks, and then we'll close it out. So as I've mentioned, I am going to be stitching on my Fancy Lady, my new county fair, so looking forward to that. I am also planning to work on my wild card stitch, which you've seen today, and that is Cabin Fever. And then somewhere in the mix, we will also be fitting in Be Mine Biscornu by Heartstring Samplery. My monthly morning stitch for June is going to be Autumn Creek Mill by Luca S. And I'll also be working on Butterfly Port Mauve as I have time. Gary will obviously be working on Louis Armstrong and Unexpected Visitors, so that's what we're going to be up to. So with that, if you are not already a subscriber and you've still stuck around, please consider subscribing. Please feel free to leave a comment. We enjoy interacting with you. You can reach out to us between videos at globetrottingstitcher@gmail.com or follow me on Instagram, globetrotting_stitcher. And if you would like to receive notifications when we post new videos, you can hit the bell and YouTube will take care of that for you. So thank you again for 5 wonderful years on Flosstube. Thank you so much for your friendship and your kindness to us. And we look forward to seeing you very soon. Good luck with the giveaway and happy stitching. Bye, everybody.